Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Google Sheets tutorial brought to you by Uplatz. In the last session, we talked about all the numeric functions including total, average, max, min, count, sumifs, countifs, and sum products. In this particular video, we would be moving towards the text functions and how we can use them. So let's see another data set that has been created on the same sheet, which is called as data set 2, and this data set contains of 5 columns, which is person, status, age, occupation, and salary for 5 people: Jonathan, Pam, Ram, Dom, Ram again, who are married, divorced, single, separated, with their respective age, occupation, and salaries. So here are the list of functions that we'll be covering today, and let's go ahead and do it. Okay. So the first function we want to look at is called Vlookup, which is one of the most essential functions of MS Excel or Google Sheets, where you want to look up a value with respect to another value. For example, what if someone asks you, can you tell me Pam's age? So instead of just looking at it and saying it like Pam is 32 years old, there's a way to actually get the age of Pam looking up Pam onto the table. So what we'll do here is we'll try and get to Pam's age by using the VLOOKUP section. So you would see that VLOOKUP actually gives you a search key. So this formula has 4 different parameters. One is search key, range, index, and is sorted yes or no. So VLOOKUP is called vertical lookup, where it searches down the first column of a range for a key and returns the value of a specified cell in the row found. So essentially the range that you will select, which is the range here, the search key has to be the first column of this range. So if I want to select at Pam's age, that means my search key is Pam. In that scenario, what I'll have to do is I'll have to start the range from column J. And then I have to get to Pam's age, which is column L. So the minimum of the range becomes J, K, and L. So I'll use the minimum here. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and use the formula. But before I do that, I'll tell you what is index and is sorted. So index would be it counts from starts from 1, 2, and 3. So to get to age, it will be the third index that I have to read. So if you go here, the column index is to be returned where the first column in the range is numbered 1. So the first column is 1, then you have 2, and then you have 3. Is sorted is to be used when in the cases when you want to return the closest match. So VLOOKUP gets you the first match of the thing if there are duplicates. So I'll show you how it works. So let's start with the first formula. So what we'll do now is we'll do a VLOOKUP search key, which is Pam. So let's see. So Pam is here. And then what we'll do is we'll do a range. So the range would be this, and we will fix this range. How do you fix this range? So the range is fixed by dollar signs before the column number and the row number. What does this essentially mean is when you're trying to drag the formula down, which I'll show you in an instance, this particular portion, if there's a dollar sign before the particular row number or the column number, those won't change if you try to drag the formula down. I will explain that in a short period of time. So we will finish this. So comma, we have to reach the third index. So you see, if you see the index 1 is highlighted. So 1, 2, and 3. So I'll write 3. And generally it's good to type false, which is the index here. So basically it is not sorted. So we look up for Pam in the range this for the third column because we're looking for age, and look at false. So there you go. You get 32. Now, what I'll do here is let's just change this a little to status. Now change this to a status. So you get the status by just changing the index from 3 to 2. So if you say this JKL, 1, 2, and 3. Since I changed it to 2, it gave me the status of Pam to divorced. Now, what if I want to drag the formula to get her age as well? So what I can do is I can just select this square button over here, and you get a plus sign, and then you can just simply drag it. So what happens here? You get an NA. What that essentially means. So now this formula got dragged from a J4, which was PAM, to a K4. Since we moved one cell here, the formula also moved itself. But it did not move the selection here because it had a dollar sign in front of it, which would mean that this range was fixed no matter how much we move the formula. So that is a good way for you to understand that when you drag a formula to the right, a column increases if it's not fixed in the formula, and if you go down, it a row increases. For example, I want to also do ROM's status. So if I drop this down using this, it'll give me ROM status, DOM status. So if you see this divorced, single, separated. How? If you see in the formula, it is taking you from J4, which was PAM, to J5, which is now ROM, and J6, which is now DOM. Now, how do I ensure that when I move to the right, I get the names, the status for only these people and does not change? That means the column J needs to stay constant. So what I'll do here is I'll just go ahead in the formula bar above, or I can do it here, and I'll just cross this so that I don't get disturbed. You can bring it back clicking on the question mark sign. You can click it here to minimize it or maximize it. So that's how you use the helper file there. Now what I'll do is I'll do a dollar sign in front of J. That means I'm fixing the column no matter what. If I move to the right, my column would remain the same, but my row is subject to move because there is no dollar sign before it. So now if I take this and drag it to the right, it will give me it'll give me the same thing because the index still says 2. This is how you can make the VLOOKUP formula more dynamic. I'll try to make it even more dynamic. How can I do that? So in this formula, what I'll do is I'll make the index more dynamic. So I'll take this from a particular cell called L10. Now the L10 is blank. What I'll do is I'll just change this to 2. And again, I'll go ahead and fix this L10, the 10 portion of L10, because I want this to be dragged. And I'll write 3 here. So when I drag this, it'll give me the age. What happened here? So when you had J4, it's looking for PAM within this range and looking for L10, which is the index. The index is now defined by another helper cell, which is 2, and the false. So it gives you PAM 1, 2, divorced. What happens in the second one? Since I kept 10 constant and moved to the right, it will mean that the index changed from L to an M, but PAM remains the same and the range remains the same. So it looked for PAM in the range, but it looked for, instead of the second cell, which is 2 on L10, it looked for 3 on M10. That means it moved a step ahead, and then it'll give me 1, 2, and 3. So PAM 1, 2, 3, which is the age of PAM, 32 years old. You can just extend this formula below as well to get the same for RAM and DOM. There you go. RAM is single, DOM is separated, RAM is 19 years old, and DOM has the age of 24 years old. Now, another thing that you have is how do you extend the formula without using this and just the keyboard? So what you can do now is I'll just go ahead and delete this so I can show you how you to extend the formula. I'll select the cell, hold the shift key, move my cursor to the right. This selects the 2 cells there, and then I'll hold the shift key again and move a little down. So it selects everything. Before I do that, I'll just show you how to extend the formula using a keyboard. So you can do a Control R and that extends the formula. And if you go down and do a Control D, it will extend the formula to the bottoms. There you go. So I can keep extending the formula till the last round. And there you are. Um, there you see the numbers there. Now, one thing to notice here is this. Let me put it here. So I'll insert one left, and what I'll do is I'll just take whatever I have here and place it here, or rather let me do it at the bottom. So what I'll do is I will insert two left and show you what is VLOOKUP doing here. Now I will take this and just simply paste it here and delete everything from here. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just take everyone's name from here and paste it here. Now I'm trying to just replicate the entire table that I have here using VLOOKUP. So I'll use the person's name, I'll use the status, or rather let's do something interesting. I want to rearrange it. Salary, age, occupation, status. Now what I'll do is I have to VLOOKUP for Jonathan, and since I'll just going down the rows and not the columns. So I'll just fix the column number there. So you can do that by clicking on the F4 button on your keyboard. So there are three versions to it. So one, this when nothing is fixed. When you click again, both the columns and the rows are fixed. When you click again, only the row is fixed. When you click F4 again, only the column is fixed. So this is what I want. I'll put a comma, and what I want next is actually the range. So I'll just take this entire range and fix again by hitting F4. So when you hit F4, you would see that the columns and the rows have become fixed. In some cases, if you have your function lock enabled, you might have to use function plus F4. So just be careful as to how you're using F4 to do that. Then I'll use the index. What I'll do for the index is there are two ways to do this. One, I can either use a helper column. There are three ways to do this. Either I can do like a normal counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I can just write 5 and a false. Or instead of a false, you can just write 0. A 0 means a false. There you go. To extend this, I will do Control R, Control D. All of them are giving you the salary because my index is fixed. Do a Control Z and use the second option, which is essentially putting 5. Age is 3, which is the index. I'm giving index as a helper column. 4 and 1. And what I'll do is within the formula, I will use the helper column. And what should I fix here? I should fix 9 because it stays constant at this row, which is the 9th row. So I'll fix 9 and enter. Now what you'll see is all of them are actually getting rightly populated. There you go. So this should be 2. So all of them are getting rightly populated, and you can hide this particular column if you want later, or row later, so that nobody sees the helper row. The third way is a more interesting way where you use something called as index match. Now what we'll do here is this ninth. Okay, first let's get rid of this. So the third way is kind of interesting. Let's try and see if we can accommodate and try and explain it over here. So what we'll do here is we'll keep till the range and do an index match. Match what? I want to match salary. And where do I want to match it? I want to match it over here. F4. My F4 is not working. There you go. And what I'll do now is I'll do an exact match so I can show you the function, how the match function works. So it looks for a search key for a range and then gives you whether it's what is the position of it. So I can do that. I can find the position of it. So in that case, I would not need an index. So I'll just remove the index function. So I'll just do a match. And then I will do a comma 0. So what happened here? What did I do? I just wanted to get this 5 using a formula. So what I did was, I'll show you the match function separately. So I tried to match this within this range and doing an exact match. So if you see this, whatever I had as the helper row of 5341 will get populated over here. Sorry, 534 and 2. This will be 2. So that's another way to use VLOOKUP. So I'll just show you in a whole way how to do it. Once again, VLOOKUP. I want to look up for Jonathan. I want to keep the row constant. So Jonathan doesn't move a lot. Okay. Sorry, I just closed that. That was the result of Butterfingers. So let me start again. VLOOKUP. I want to do VLOOKUP of this. I want to fix this only column. So I'll just put a $sign below before the column. And I want to pick the range. So I'll just select the range and I'll fix this. I'll use them in to find the index. Now I'm at the index of the VLOOKUP. So what I'll do now is I'll use the match formula and I'll try to match the header salary in the list of headers, which is right here. And I'll try, okay. So I'll try to match the header salary in the list of headers here, fix the list of headers. And I also need to fix the salary, which is on N10. So I need to fix the 10 here to dollars and then fix the headers and do an exact match of 0 and do a 0 for VLOOKUP. There you go. And I can now extend this to get my formula. Voila. So this is how you can use VLOOKUP in different combinations and using helper rows. You can use the match column, you can use direct indexes. So this is how you can use the VLOOKUP, and I hope you will love when you use it. Okay, so coming back, we were looking at PAM's age, so we'll just do a small VLOOKUP here. So we'll try to look for PAM, and this is not case sensitive, so it's okay. We'll look for PAM, and where do you want to look? We want to look in the entire thing. We want to fix this. We want to look at the third one. We want to look at 0, 32. That's PAM's age. For RAM, we'll do a similar thing. We'll look for RAM. Sorry, we'll look for RAM, and then we'll do this. And we will do RAM's occupation. So that's 4 and 0. So you notice that this will give you the RAM on the top, right? Now to get the second one, there's a separate method to get the second value from VLOOKUP. There are multiple methods to do that, but you can do just one and it'll give you the not sorted way and you can get sales. So you can get the first and second one by 0 and 1. Or what you'll have to do is your different functions of VLOOKUP where you can get the second and the third value from a particular table, which is sorted or not sorted. I would take, I'll let you take that up as an exercise to do it yourself. That'll be the quiz for the day. And now we'll move forward. So concatenate. What does concatenate mean? So basically, you have two functions here. Appends a string to another string, and concatenation of two values will use strings. So what we will do here is, if I click here, this is the formula help. It says string 1 and string 2. So I can do this and this, and then you get concatenated value. What if I select a range? Let's see. So what if I select these two? Still give me the value. What if I select more? What if I keep selecting? It converts all the numeric values into integral values, or sorry, into text values, and then creates a concatenated version of it. It's very nice when you have to actually write something separated by different values. For example, I have a list of numbers and I want to form a date out of it. So 20190509, that's my date. And now I want to form a date out of it in a string format. So what I'll do is I'll concatenate string one, this, comma, I'll just place a dash in between. I can place any character in between separated by inverted commas, and then I'll place this, and then I'll place another dash on it, and then I'll place this, and I'll close this. So you see, you get a date out of it, and you can always convert this into a date from here. So that's how you can concatenate different values using the concatenate function. Now, what is the exact function? So what exact does is tells you whether two strings are actually the same. So if I do exact ram, comma, ram, it'll get true. So it's basically, you can use this as a combination in ifs and countifs and sumifs to find if two values match each other, you want the sum of them. So that's how you can create a combination of different formulas to get to a certain point. We'll just look into that in an intermediate course. What's left? Let's have a look at left. I'll just bring them back. So you know when you receive the structs, how to use these. Okay, what's left? I'll put the left here itself. So we have a longer string to use. So I'll just use it from here. And by default, it'll just pick one value. You can also add number of values. For example, I want 13 values from there. So I'll just do this. So it'll give me 13 values out of this, the first 13 letters out of this. Length, it'll give me the length of the string. So if I do this, I'll get 33. Lower, it's a very simple function. It changes everything to lowercase. Mid. Mid is a very interesting one. So mid, when I try to do it on, suppose, this section, it asks me, where do you want to start? So I want to start from the fifth value, and I want to pick 9 more values. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm picking from the fifth value, and I want to pick 9 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Picks up 9 values. Proper is a very interesting one. So when you have something like this where you have no clear case, so you can do a proper case of it just by using the proper command and selecting the particular one. So you get Jonathan out here. See, moving forward, we are going to do replace. It's similar to how we use find and replace. You can just say that you want to replace something out of this, and you want to start it from position 2 till position 16. I want to just replace it with an 8. Okay, that gives me an error because probably there's no 16 there. There you go. I need to put that as a string. There you go. So there was a 16, but I did not put the new text in inverted commas. So whenever you're using a text within an inverted within a formula, you have to use it with within an inverted comma. So there you go. What I'm doing here, I'm using this text, and from the 2nd to the 19th characters, I'm replacing this with AS. Okay. Right is very similar to left. It just does the right version of things. So I'll just use this, and I want to pick up 5 from there. So it picks up the last 5 digits, or last 5 characters rather. To make it more appealing, let us do 8 split. What split does is essentially splits a particular thing using a delimiter. So you can split this, and what is the delimiter I want to use? I want to use backslash. So I can split this using a backslash. There you go, it gets trimmed. So if I do this, let's say pop, and I can keep going on. So I can do this and it'll still give me the next one. It's basically what we learned on text to columns. Gave me an error because there's no space after that, because there's a filled space after that. So it's similar to split text to column, which we did using in one of our other videos. So you can either do it like this using a formula, or you can do it through text to columns, which is right here, split text to columns. Okay, what does trim do? So in this particular case, you see we have spaces here and spaces here. So I want to remove these spaces. So what I'll do is I'll do a trim, and I'll trim this. See, now there are no spaces. So just to show you, I'll copy this and paste it as values. And you'll see that the spaces are gone. I'll bring it back. I'll undo the option. Upper is the opposite of lower. So basically what it does is gets everything into an uppercase. Looks like someone's yelling at me. Join. Join actually is an advanced version of concatenate. So concatenate just gets two strings together, but join is when you want to uh, have different strings, but attach them or join them together using a delimiter. So what I'll do is I'll use a delimiter, say a dash, and I will just use an array, which is my this array, and there you go. So whatever we did with concatenate earlier can be easily done with join. Now, what is if function? So what we'll do is we'll do an if. So an if else function is essentially when you want to look for a logical expression, and if it was true, you want to throw something, and if it wasn't, you want to throw something else. So what we'll try to do here is if this Jonathan, or let's say let's use a formula, if left of Jonathan, which is this, comma 2 equals to Joe. In that case, I want to say gotcha. If not, I failed again. What do you think would be the answer? So left of J3 comma 2, which is left of J3, Jonathan comma 2 is equal to Joe, J-O. In that case, throw a gotcha or a failed again. So I'm sure the answer would be gotcha because that's it. But if it's wrong, so if this was true, it gave me a gotcha. But then if I just write J-O-K, that means Jonathan is not J-O-K, it'll give me I fail again. So that's how you can use if functions. You can use it in multiple combinations. You can use a combination of um, how do we put it? So if you want to put it like if this is equal to married, then give me the left of this. So for example, is equal to if. Okay, before we do that, I also want to show you a few versions of if, which is ifs. Basically, you have multiple conditions and their values. If a1 greater than 90, then a. If a1 greater than 80, so this is nested if, where you can create case if functions. And then we'll show a little more on if na, means if there is an error on a particular formula, then do something. For example, um, let's do something, or let's do the last one, which is if error. For example, if you have an error in the formula, for example, if error 3 by 0, which will give me an error, then produce get the right formula. So that was an error. So it gave me the get the right formula. But if I do if 3 by 1, which is not an error, it'll give me the actual value. Similar is the case for NA. If there is another NA value, you can use that. But the difference between if NA and if error is if error also takes for hashtag value errors and hashtag NA errors. So I would recommend that you use if error instead of if NA, and that will become more handy in the case. That's it from our session from text functions. And in our next session, we'll be moving on to date functions where we'll see you again. Thank you. Bye bye.